So the only section left for us to discuss is Indian economy, agriculture and social development. Good number of questions were asked from this section as well. If I have to categorize the questions, I will put them in the category of easy to moderate. Some of the questions were slightly difficult. In fact, there were at least 2 questions that created a kind of confusion in the minds of the aspirants. However, most of the questions were moderate and some were straightforward, which can be solved by utilizing the elimination technique. So let's take a look at all the questions that featured under this category. First question goes something like this. Consider the following statements. Statement 1, India does not import apples from the United States of America. Statement 2, in India, the law prohibits the import of genetically modified food without the approval of the competent authority. The options were both statements are correct and the second one explains the first one. Both statements are correct and the second one does not explain the first one. The first statement is correct and the second one is incorrect. The first statement is incorrect and the second one is correct. Now, if you know this, that USA is a major exporter of apples to India, you can easily solve this question. You can use your elimination technique and you will find that the option D turns out to be the right answer, because there is no option in this question where both statements are incorrect. So the moment you find one as incorrect, you automatically understand that the second one has to be correct, and therefore this fourth option, which is option D, becomes the right choice in this case. Keep this in mind that there were several questions in the economic section which followed more or less this kind of a nature. And if you look at statement number 2, it makes complete sense. How can a country allow genetically modified food to be imported without having a proper mechanism of approval by a competent authority? That's why for this question, the right answer is option D, which means statement 1 is incorrect, whereas statement 2 is correct. In fact, USA was a major exporter of apples to India till recent past. However, in the recent past, the Indian government has imposed some tariffs which has reduced the quantum of apples imported to India. Okay, so let's take a look at the next question. Consider the following statement. Statement 1, recently Venezuela has achieved a rapid recovery from its economic crisis and succeeded in preventing its people from fleeing, emigrating to other countries. Statement 2, Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserves. The options are more or less similar to the last question. Both statements correct, second one explaining the first one. Both statements correct, second one not explaining the first one. Statement 1 is correct, statement 2 is incorrect, statement 1 is incorrect, statement 2 is correct. Now again, if you are reading the newspapers of late, you will know that Venezuela has not recovered from its economic crisis. In fact, in some few months back, the crisis aggravated to such an extent that there was large-scale emigration from Venezuela. The moment you know this, you know that the answer has to be D again, because the first statement turns out to be incorrect. Venezuela definitely has the world's largest oil reserves. So for this question also, statement 1 is incorrect, statement 2 is correct, and that's why D turns out to be the right choice. The next question goes something like this. With reference to the Digital India Land Records Modernization Program, consider the following statements. To implement the scheme, the central government provides 100% funding. Under the scheme, cadastral maps are digitized. An initiative has been undertaken to transfer and transliterate the records of rights from local language to any of the languages recognized by the Constitution of India. The options are 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 3 only, 1, 2 and 3. Again, you have to know the details of the Digital India Land Records Modernization Program to answer this question. If you look at all the three statements, you will find that all of them are correct. That's why option D turns out to be the right choice. In fact, Digital India Land Records Modernization Program is a scheme where the central government provides 100% funding to the states and union territories. One of the key objectives of this scheme is to digitize the cadastral maps. Cadastral maps are the detailed maps showing the boundaries of the land parcels, which was a major pain point. Ascertaining the boundaries of land parcels was a major pain point in India, and the digitalization of that will help to resolve this problem to a large extent. The third statement is also correct. Yes, under the program, there is some transliteration facility from local language to any of the recognized languages which are recognized by the Constitution of India. Let's move to the next one. With reference to the Pradhan Mantri Surakshit Matritva Abhiyan, consider the following statement. This scheme guarantees a minimum package of antenatal care services to women in their second and third trimesters of pregnancy and 6 months post-delivery health care service in any government health facility. Under this scheme, private sector healthcare providers of certain specialities can volunteer to provide services at nearby government health facilities. Which of the statements given above is are correct? One only, two only, both one and two, neither one and two. Again, look at this, friends. The first statement is half correct and half incorrect. The first part of the statement is correct. The scheme, in fact, guarantees a minimum package of antenatal care services to the women in their second and third trimesters of pregnancy, and this part of the statement is correct. However, this scheme does not guarantee any post-delivery health care service in any government health facility. This thing, the second part of the statement, makes this statement incorrect, whereas the second statement under the scheme, private sector health care providers of certain specialities are encouraged to provide services at government health facilities. So the right answer for this question becomes option B. It means two only. In fact, government encourages the private players to volunteer themselves for such a noble cause, and it also improves the overall social capital in the country. So logically thinking also, you will find that statement 2 will be correct. The right answer for this was B. Next question, with reference to Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Man Dhan Yojana, consider the following statements. The entry age group for enrollment in the scheme is 21 to 40 years. Age specific contribution shall be made by the beneficiary. Each subscriber under the scheme shall receive a minimum pension of 3,000 per month after attaining the age of 60. Family pension is applicable to the spouse and unmarried daughters. Which of the statements given above are correct? 1, 3 and 4, 2 and 3 only, 2 only, 1, 2 and 4. Now, if you know that the entry age group for enrollment under the scheme is not between 21 to 40 but between 18 to 40, then half of your problem is resolved. It means option A and D are eliminated. Obviously, option 2, you do not have to beat your head against it. It is contained in both B and C. Also, option 4 gets eliminated with option A and D. The third statement says each subscriber under the scheme shall receive a minimum pension of rupees 3,000 per month after attaining the age of 60 years. This is a correct statement. So the right answer for this question becomes 2 and 3 only. Okay, so the right answer is B. Let's move forward. Consider the following statements. Statement 1, if the United States of America were to default on its debt, holders of US Treasury bonds will not be able to exercise their claim to receive payment. Statement 2 says the US government debt is not backed by any hard asset but only by the faith of the government. The options are again similar. Both statements correct. and the second one explaining the first one. Both statements correct. Second one not explaining the first one. Statement 1 correct, second incorrect. Statement 1 incorrect, second correct. Now this was a bit tricky. The United States of America, if it defaults on its sovereign debt or the money which it has borrowed by issuing treasury bonds, will the holders of the treasury bond have any kind of remedy? Yes, they will have remedy. It goes against a fair society. They may approach the courts. They may also file suits against the government of United States. So the first statement is not correct. It is incorrect. The moment that happens, the answer becomes D. Yes, it is true that the US government debt is not backed by any hard asset. For most of the developing countries, their debt is backed by their consolidated fund. But in US case, because of its superpower nature and the dollarization of the world economy, there is a general faith that the US government will not crumble even when other governments will crumble. And this faith was seen at the time of the double dip recession in Europe. Okay. So for this question, the right answer is D, which means statement 1 is incorrect and statement 2 is correct. The United States, if it defaults, those who are holding the bonds will have the right to make a claim against the government. Although US government is now in a position that it can offer other instruments as well as a leverage tool. But you see that such kind of a blanket exemption cannot be given to any government. Okay. Let's move to the next question. Consider the following statement. Statement 1, syndicated lending spreads the risk of borrower default across multiple lenders. The syndicated loan can be a fixed amount lump sum of funds but cannot be a credit line. Both statements correct. The second one explaining the first one. Both statements correct. Second one not explaining the first one. Statement 1 correct, second incorrect. 1 incorrect, second correct. Now, what is syndicated lending? Syndicated lending is when more than one lender lends to borrowers. Okay, in that way they divide the risk or they share the risk of lending. Therefore, statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is incorrect. It means that syndicated loan can be extended in the form of a credit line as well. Okay, syndicated loans can indeed be structured as either a fixed amount lump sum or on the basis of a credit line, which is revolving credit facility. So for this question, the right answer was C. It means first is correct and the second one is incorrect. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following statements in respect of the digital rupee. Digital rupee is like the Indian hard currency or the Indian rupee, which is issued by the RBI. It's like the Indian currency. Okay. Now, Indian currency is not a hard currency for the world, but for us, yes, obviously, the paper currency, we treat it as our tangible money, and that's why I use the word hard. Do not get confused that Indian currency is a hard currency. First statement is it is a sovereign currency issued by the RBI in alignment with its monetary policy. It appears as a liability on the RBI's balance sheet. Obviously, both these statements are correct. It is insured against inflation by its very design. Fourth statement, it is freely convertible against commercial bank money and cash. Obviously, this free convertibility facility is available, but neither the physical currency nor the digital currency, they are hedged against inflation. That's why third statement is incorrect. That makes the right answer as D. First is correct, second is correct, third is incorrect, the fourth one is correct. Remember, digital currency or the digital rupee is not a hedge against inflation. Let's move to the next one. Consider the following statements. India is a member of the International Grains Council. That's true. It's a fact. A country needs to be a member of the International Grains Council for exporting or importing rice and wheat. This is an incorrect statement. So the right answer becomes option A, which is one only. Like say for example, think of several countries which are not part of the Grains Council, yet they are exporting or importing rice. Next question. Consider the following statements. In India, non-banking financial companies or NBFCs can access the liquidity adjustment facility window of the RBI. In India, foreign institutional investors can hold the government securities or G-SECs. In India, stock exchanges can offer separate trading platforms for debts. Now, which of the statements given above are correct? 1 and 2 only, 3 only, 1, 2, 3, 2 and 3. Now, see, the NBFCs do not have this right to access the liquidity adjustment facility. That is reserved for the scheduled commercial. So, the first statement immediately becomes wrong. The right answer for this is 2 and 3 only. The other two statements are correct. In India, FIIs can hold the G-SECs and stock exchanges can also offer separate trading platforms for debts. So, second statement and third statement is correct. In fact, the National Stock Exchange and the Bombay Stock Exchange do offer separate trading platforms for debt instruments, and foreign institutional investors can hold government securities but they come under the regulatory framework of the RBI. Let's move to the next one. In India, which of the following can trade in corporate bonds and government security? Insurance companies, pension funds, retail investors. The right answer is all of them. All of them can trade in corporate bonds. It means insurance companies, pension funds and individual retail investors all can invest in corporate bonds. Obviously, this is something that the government is doing to encourage the bond market. India has a very good share market, but it has not a good developed bond market, and this move is specifically designed to encourage the bond market in India. So, the right answer is D. Let's move to the next question. Consider the following: exchange traded funds, motor vehicles, currency swap. Which of the above are considered as financial instruments? 1 only, 2 and 3 only, 1, 2, 3, 1 and 3. Obviously, motor vehicles are not. Therefore, the first one is correct, second is incorrect, and third is correct. Currency swap agreements India has signed with several countries, or India is planning to sign many of such agreements with other countries as well. One popular one is with Japan. Okay. So, statement 1 is correct, 2 is incorrect, 3 is correct. So, the right answer for this one is D. Motor vehicles, obviously, this is like a absurd option, right? It cannot be a financial instrument, it's a physical asset. Anyway, let's move to the next one. With reference to the sectors of Indian economy, consider the following pairs. Storage of agricultural produce, it's not secondary, it's tertiary. Like storage, transportation, these activities are tertiary activities. Dairy farm, primary. Mineral exploration, tertiary, it's a primary activity. Weaving cloth, secondary. Yes, weaving cloth is secondary. Manufacturing, processing, refining, these are all secondary activities. Okay, so for this question, the right answer is B. It means 2 only. Storage is not secondary and mineral exploration is not tertiary. The other two are written in the right way. So, option B, which means only 2, becomes the answer. Let's move to the next one. With reference to physical capital in Indian economy, consider the following pairs. Farmer's plow, working capital. Computer, fixed capital. Yarn used by the weaver, fixed capital. Petrol, working capital. Now, fixed capital is something which is at one place and it is used to produce goods and services. Working capital is that capital which gets consumed during the production process. The physical capital may undergo wear and tear or depreciation, but it does not get consumed during the production cycle. Working capital is also sometimes referred to as floating capital. Fuel, for example, is an example of floating capital, working capital. Farmer's plow is a fixed capital. Computer is a fixed capital. Yarn used by the weaver is not fixed but working capital. Petrol is working capital or floating capital. So, for this question, the right choice becomes option B. It means only 2. Let's move to the next one. With reference to rules imposed by the Reserve Bank of India while treating foreign banks, consider the following statement. There is no minimum capital requirement for wholly owned banking subsidiaries in India. For wholly owned banking subsidiaries in India, at least 50% of the board members should be Indian nationals. Now, this is again a fact-based question. It appeared all over PIB few months back. So, what is the right answer for this one? B. Statement 1 is incorrect. 2 is correct. Yes, 50% of Indians have to be included as board members. The first statement is incorrect. The RBI imposes minimum capital requirements for foreign banks establishing wholly owned subsidiaries in India, because that is used again as a hedge, so that the banking industry is very vulnerable, and if a bank fails, many things fail with it. Therefore, RBI carries this hedge. Let's move to the next one. With reference to corporate social responsibility rules in India, consider the following statement. CSR rules specify that expenditure that benefit the company directly or its employees will not be considered as CSR activities. CSR rules do not specify minimum spending on CSR activities. The right answer for this is A. Statement 1 is correct. Statement 2 is incorrect. The minimum is specified, and it has to be at least 2% of their average net profits made during 3 immediately preceding financial years on CSR activity. Obviously, if a company spends on its employees and then calls it CSR, makes no sense. That's why option A is correct answer in this case. Next question. With reference to Indian economy, collateral borrowing and lending obligations are the instruments of, these are instruments of money market. Obviously, bond market, forex market or stock market does not use these kind of instruments. Collateral borrowing and lending. It means you give an asset or you hold an asset and then borrow against that asset. Okay. So, money market is the answer for this question. This question goes something like this. Consider the following statements regarding World Toilet Organization. It is one of the agencies of the United Nations. World Toilet Summit, World Toilet Day, World Toilet College are the initiatives of this organization to inspire action to tackle the global sanitation crisis. The main focus of its function is to grant funds to the least developed countries and developing countries to achieve the end of open defecation. Which of the statements given above are correct? The first statement is not correct because it is not an agency of United Nations. The second statement is correct. Yes, World Toilet Day, World Toilet College and World Toilet Summit are the initiatives of this organization. The third statement, however, appears to be correct, is not correct. The main focus of its function is to grant funds to the least developed countries and developing countries to achieve the end of open defecation. The main focus is not to grant funds. Okay, so the right answer for this one becomes option A, which is 2 only. The first statement is incorrect. World Toilet Organization is an NGO, not an agency or part of the United Nations. Statement 2 is correct. The World Toilet Organization organizes events like the World Toilet Summit, World Toilet Day and World Toilet College. Statement 3 is incorrect. While the WTO is involved in advocacy and awareness programs to improve sanitation, it does not primarily focus on granting funds to opportunities for achieving specific goals like ending open defecation. So my dear friends, that was the Civil Services Preliminary Examination 2024's General Studies paper. On a scale of difficulty, I would again hold this paper as easy to moderate with few exceptions where some questions were slightly tricky, but overall this paper was doable. So if you have attempted adequate number of questions and if you are getting good amount of marks, then you should start immediately your mains preparation. Take a small break and then make a plan and stick to that plan and start preparing for the mains examination. Suppose you're not scoring good and your marks are poor when you have matched the various keys and you're not finding that you will be in a position to get a call for the mains examination. Still, I would advise that you should start preparing for the mains examination, because what will happen is only in the womb of time. This is the time to focus on key areas like ethics, essay, optional subject, etc. Because these three areas are vital for success in the mains examination. To help your cause as far as the optionals are concerned, IDNIS is coming up with its optional mentorship program, the GS test series and mentorship program. It is also launching its optional courses. So geography, anthropology, PSIS, sociology and history optionals are available at IDNIS. The GS mains test series, which is created by a team of experts, and you will get good mentorship under that hand-holding approach. The focus is to improve your writing, starts from 3rd of July. So friends, this was everything that I had to offer to you as far as this discussion was concerned. My best wishes are with all of you. Keep learning and keep fighting.